Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello and welcome to the Longbangers in association with Leith Spirits. I think I said association wrong, but I'm going to leave it in. I'm not going to ask anybody to edit it. I'm Colin, and I've got with me John. How are you, John?
I'm good, Colin, thanks. I'm blown away a little bit by your enunciation of Leith Spirits.
Oh,
Making sure to get the sponsor in. I loved it. I love a good bit of enunciation, especially when you get when you start. Funny, when you messaged earlier about like asking when I was ready to go, I was thinking of Friends and I Can Go Right Now, Man, when Joey does his Jamaican accent, and then I was thinking about Gary Oldman there, just as we were talking about enunciation, about spitting in each other's faces to make sure you get your P's and your T's, which isn't good actually for the listener because of the old microphone, and like that's when you need it's no spit filters, but it's some sort of filter you put in front of your microphone.
All right, okay. I've not got a microphone, so.
Yeah.
But should just point out for the listener that Matthew's resigned from Longbangers and he won't be back. It's just leaving it to me and John. So thanks for your time with the podcast. Matthew, we'll take it forward and make it better from here. John, we're here to talk about this fucking game last night. We'll go back to the start. Just the start of yesterday, actually. What about what do you think? What was your thoughts on the team when you saw the team come out? I think there was 2 changes for the last game we played.
It was all right. I think when we stood around the table in the Albion pre-match, we had a couple of pints and you were having a chat with mates and that, and we kind of looked at it and we all went, it wasn't like a shrug of the shoulders, like what are you going to do? It was just kind of like, well, that's the team. Like that's pretty much what we've come to expect. Yeah. So like Neil back in was expected. Like I don't think anyone would have. In fact, actually, it would have been the opposite. It would have raised eyebrows if Neil hadn't come back in the team. I think Campbell coming in for, I want to say Yuan, but someone will probably correct me on that because I think with the formation, and I'm sure we'll come to that later, sometimes the players and how they sort of move around the pitch and what have you. I'm never quite sure who Campbell comes in and replaces because he's so versatile. He plays in a number of positions.
Yeah, I was the same. I think you're right. When I was thinking about this before, I was thinking, who was the second change? Because I remember hearing 2 changes, but you just assumed Neil's in the team. So that was the second change. I was quite pleased Campbell was in. I think I'd maybe suggested that when we spoke about it in the preview last week, that he would come in, but I didn't expect him to be right midfield, which is where he actually turned out to be. I was hoping that we'd maybe get Boyle in his actual position, play Campbell, supporting Venti, and maybe let Venti be a striker. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and I'm sure there's talking points on that, so we can get into that later. Game started, and I think they got a penalty right away, did they not? It was fucking. They kicked the lunch one into the corner, got a corner early doors, and then next thing it was a penalty.
I see. To be honest, like it completely passed me by. I didn't even notice anything at the time. And I think what had happened was when I started the game, I was up in my usual seat, and then my mates who sit about a dozen rows in front of me had kind of given me the nod to say, actually, there's one spared in here. And I think between walking for like the top after the game started down those like a half dozen rows, VAR check, possible handball. I'm like, fucking when? Like it just completely passed me by.
Nobody was claiming it. Actually, the funny thing was with that. After I think the ball had been cleared for the corner, Campbell had went in with like a low head, and the boy had a sort of semi-high foot up just over just inside the Hearts half, and the Hearts player went down with a sore foot, even though it was Campbell put his head in. And I thought when I first saw VAR check, I thought, I wonder if they're going for the high foot for a red card. And then it was a kind of possible handball. I'm like, hey, the fuck's that? Just as it happened, that's when Darren McGregor and his family turned up. He was sitting up just in the row beside me. So. The staff don't get the best seats anymore. They just get punted away up to the waist upper. But have you seen it back? Do you think it was a penalty?
Aye, I think it was a penalty. It's when you consider the way that the penalty rules have changed.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where it's not come off like a body part first and then hit him in the hand. His arm's just in a stupid position, in it. Stupid position relative to what he's doing. Like, because like he's got it's not like he's trying to gain leverage on the opponent. It's just it's just shite. Like you can't have any complaints with that. Like it's hit his hand, his arms outstretched. I don't know whether he's trying to give the striker a cuddle. I don't know. It's a penalty.
Yeah. And then Shankland made a cunt hit after that. So that was good, and I thought, well, the place, there's nothing like a penalty miss almost should give you a boost.
It's funny because we've taken a piss at him being like, stat padding. He's like, what's it, Lawrence? What's it? What have folk called? He's like changed his surname to. Is it? Oh, is it like Pennant Shankland or Lawrence Penland or something like that? Anyway, but for him to miss, it was quite ironic, and it was actually a good penalty, other than the fact that he's hit the post. And I actually watched that back a wee bit more than I should have. I was talking to you before we recorded about one of the poison chalice of doing the podcast is that when Hibs get beat, you have to go back and watch these things a number of times afterwards. You need to relive it again. And if you watch him, he's looking into that corner like pretty much the entire time. And I know that there's maybe like a wee bit, I don't know if you call it like Russian roulette or like gamesmanship or whatever, but he's maybe trying to like psych Marshall out and thinking, well, I'm going to look here and then I'm going to the opposite way. No, he went that way the entire time.
No, I've not watched it back. I've not watched any of it back.
I don't know. Do you know what? I only watched the winner back this morning. I think I've watched it maybe 4 or 5 times just to try and like understand and work it through. But I didn't want to.
No.
I didn't want to watch it any more than I watched the St Johnstone game back for different reasons because it just fuck it.
Well, hands up, I've not watched any replays back. So I have seen a couple of stills, and that's where I've seen the Rocky handball. And I've seen the still of a possible penalty we could have had. I know I've jumped past the penalty we got, but the possible one we could have got just before half time, which doesn't seem in the still anyway, that dissimilar to the one given against Rocky. Have you seen that back?
No, I've not seen that back. I've seen a few people mention it, but I've not seen the circumstance. I've not seen any video or footage.
Right, okay, fair enough. So we'll come back then to our penalty. I think there was a decent bit of play, and then Venti seemed to have a decent effort. Sorry, a decent chance at an effort, maybe 10, 12 yards out, and the Hearts defenders just saved it like a keeper would.
My initial reaction was, I don't know what's happened there because it's happened away up the other end of the pitch for the famous five where I was at, and the game stopped, and then I think the funny thing was, like, in hindsight, was that they did the VAR check for a possible handball when it was it wasn't a possible, it was a blatant handball.
Aye, but they've got they check them all, don't they? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people that don't like VAR say.
Yeah.
They're even checking that. Well, they check everyone, and I think the referee gave the penalty. It's not like he missed it. He knew it was a penalty. Everybody knew it was a penalty. Certainly, I was at that end of the West Upper, and it was so obvious it was a handball. I was actually more shouting for the red card because I thought that was a red card.
I didn't realise at the time when people were shouting for the red card that it was as blatant as you're describing and as it happened to be. I thought that maybe it just sort of like it's hit his hand and he's maybe been like lying on the deck. As I say, it was so far away I couldn't really tell what was going on. But when you watch the footage back and how blatant it is, like you say, it's like Eddie Manny in the Hearts box, isn't it? Like just someone trying to get a hand on it.
Yeah, I think the rules say it should be a red card. But then I'm sure there's a rule that contradicts it because that's how the football rule book is written. It's written in the favour of the referee that they can pick and choose. But there's definitely a rule that says that that's a red card and a penalty. None of this double jeopardy or any of that shite. It's a red card and a penalty. But
yeah, that's what it would be beneficial if you have. Yeah, that's what it would be beneficial if you had a bit of like the referee come out afterwards and explain that decision, because if there's something contradictory there, then like help us understand.
That's one thing we never mentioned there, the decision just before kick-off to not have the microphones on the
I've only just learned that in the last sort of 5-10 minutes when I was having a wee look through. I think I was on I want to say it was Sky Sports Scotland or scanning through the Hibs feed to find just to remind myself the formation, and I said like there was a wee snippet that said here's a video that explains why Montgomery won't be mic'd up. Like, what was the reason? Did they explain?
So they came out before the game, and I think Sky, well, it was one of the papers, the Record maybe, said the 3 reasons why the SFA won't allow it, which were Sporting integrity was the first one, as in somebody could be watching it on the telly and phoning Gary Naismith, the other one, Stevie Naismith, and tell him our tactics, which I think I've tried to ridicule the other day on the podcast. The second reason was that there was a betting reasons that somebody might know a substitute's getting made before a substitute's made. And the third one, which I think is probably the real reason, they didn't want the referees being overheard, which is what prompted me to come back to it, because you're mentioning it would be good to hear the refs. They don't want us hearing the refs. They don't want us hearing how they make their decisions and how they arrived at decisions, because they'll get found out even more than they do. Or actually, you know what? It would help us. It would educate us, wouldn't it, if we could actually hear the reason and the thought process why that wasn't a red card. But they don't want us hearing it, and that's why they said. Funnily enough, though, at half time, just to fill you in here, the SFA went, wasn't it us, mate? Wasn't it us that said that you couldn't do that? It was IFAB, whoever the fuck they are. Who says you can't do it for only coaching? You can only do it for coaching reasons, not for entertainment purposes.
Anytime I've gone to look up the rules, ironically, I think it's IFAB or what you say that write them, or it's their website, or I don't know exactly who they are.
I think it's International Football Association or something. No idea. Not really.
International Football Association of bastards.
But so whoever said it, I don't know how other leagues have got around it, but they have. But anyway, they never got to do it. So it made me fucking imagine if we'd got beat and he had a microphone on. Fucking hell. It would have been an absolute massive meltdown,
Bigger than there's been?
Oh, aye, because well, or would it have taken? Maybe we might have deflected. It might have deflected for people because they don't want to blame that rather than the actual other reasons that we'll come on to. So yeah, we don't know why he wasn't sent off, but then Boyle stepped up to take the penalty. Happy with Boyle on penalties?
In hindsight, no. Because he's missed other penalties. I would have assumed that Vente being the striker, that he'd be the one on the penalty. I don't know why Boyle got to claim it. I don't know whether... I want to say that there was an incident, and I might be misremembering things, but there was certainly like an incident later, or at some point in the game, where I think he wanted to I think he was maybe trying to prove a point. But as I say, I might be misremembering that, and I would have preferred... And actually, this is maybe part of one of like the squad's weaknesses. Like, I'm saying that I would have preferred Vente. It's just because he's the striker. I'm maybe a wee bit old fashioned. Like, I wouldn't normally have, say, Martin Boyle, the winger, taking it. But I think there's maybe a lack of like specialists within the Hibs squad. So I don't think there's anyone there for like set pieces. Like, Martin Boyle's had a few good deliveries for corners. But I'd say they're like 50-50, same way Joe Newell on the other side. You never know whether you're going to get a good delivery or not.
Do you know that, interestingly, that we had a free kick in the second half, maybe 25 yards out, and I'm saying to my wife and kids, like, who's taking it? I think Newell ended up flipping it over the wall, so trying to be an invention, but there was nobody obvious to come and shoot.
I was saying to my mates that were sat behind me exactly the same thing, that I think the obvious one out of the players that were crowded around the ball might have been Newell, but I think or Levitt. But actually, I think it was going to be one of those like 1 in 100 shots, and not too long after that, I think Jago has a shot that felt him similar to Jake Doyle Hayes against Ross County, and it was like it's the 1 in 100 again. Like, you're not expecting Jago to score for that position. He's just going to swing a leg at it and hope for the best.
Yeah. So we're back to the penalty, I guess. Then Boyle, keeper saved it, didn't he? I've not watched it back. So do you think it was a good save, or do you think Boyle didn't take it as well as he could have?
I don't think, like, for when I was like at the game and having watched it back, like, I don't think it was an especially poor penalty. Like, it was bottom left, our keeper's bottom right, and he seemed to hit it reasonably hard. So I'm going to say that it was a decent save, rather than an especially poor penalty.
Yeah, my impression at the time was that. Back onto the Boyle thing, someone, and I've not fact checked this, someone said that Sky Sports during the commentary said he's missed 4 from 19 penalties he's taken for Hibs.
There's
come across as a great record.
It's fun, like 49. So what's that like? He's 1 in 5.
1 in 5. Mm-hmm.
I remember. Do you remember the penalties against Dundee United when we won the Scottish Cup? The only reason I mention it is because afterwards he had said in his interview that he just smashed it. He mishit it, so I think it's gone top corner. And he'd said afterwards that he's mishit it. And I don't know whether that was part of like the cheeky chappy Martin Boyle persona, but it didn't fill me with any confidence.
That's right.
Stepping up afterwards.
It was almost like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like he was going bottom right and he went top left or something. You know, it was like, I remember that, yeah.
So that's another reason why I wouldn't be particularly confident. And I think we had the same discussion with Kevin Nisbet when he was stepping up and taking penalties. Like, he had a really poor run, so like naturally, like, you know, you maybe forgive them the first one, but when it becomes 2 and even 3, like, you start to think, well, maybe it should be someone else.
Yeah, again, it's another specialist thing, isn't it? Like, you get guys that do it and hardly ever miss one in their career, or, you know, miss one or here and there. But if 1 in 5 seems too many.
Yeah, if not Venti or Boyle, though, who would you say you would give the penalty duties to?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. I don't know what Levitt's like. Campbell's taken one before and scored it. I don't know. And Campbell had his hands on the ball at one point yesterday, but I don't know if he was doing that thing where I'm holding it because, you know, the opposition teams do that because of VAR checks and all that going on. They try and disrupt the penalty taker. So I don't know if some teams just, I'm kidding on taking it. I don't know, but Campbell, because I wouldn't be even confident with Newell taking it because he's just not a guy that shoots an awful lot. So I think you're looking at, it's got to be Venti, like, it's got to be Venti, isn't it?
Probably, like, just in the absence of anyone else. Like, I think with Newell, it would be, I don't know if he'd be able to generate enough power. Like, it seems like he'd probably try and stroke it in the back of the net, and you're probably looking for something quite authoritative.
But you need to put the keeper the wrong way every time if you're doing that. You know, and there's players like Hazard used to do that at Chelsea. Yeah, he'd always put the keeper on his arse and just knock it in the other corner. But it's not as easy to do, So, but it's got to be Venti. Like, he's your $500,000 plus signing to play up front. I know he's playing in midfield. We'll come on to that, but it's you've got to put money on the striker. So that was that. Yeah. After that, we had mentioned the possible penalty at the end of the first half that you can't remember. Don't think much else happened in the first half. It was quite uneventful. The game, really, the atmosphere was dead at the game. You know, there wasn't really. It was a bit of a non-event, and it looked like it was going to stroll it to 0-0, I think.
That was my thoughts. I thought I was trying to think of a way to describe the game, like to sum it up, because I don't think, like, despite the 2 penalty incidents, I don't think there was much. Like, I don't think that Clark or Marshall have really had too many saves to make. Like, there's towards the end of the game, Clark had to like punch one away that was pretty much straight at him.
That was Iran, yeah.
But other than that, like, I don't really remember much. And I think my summary of the game would have been, if we'd started off that way, it was 2 virgins dry humping, and then like premature ejaculation at the end on our part that disappointed us.
Yeah, you're right. There wasn't many saves. I think Clark made that save from Ewan that was, as you say, was hit hard, but kind of straight down the middle of him. Marshall made a save for Shankland as well. But that was pretty much it. And I think that we looked, and I don't know if I'm being biased, I felt we looked the team that might score if everybody was going to score. I didn't think we were going to lose the game. I thought we might sneak one here, but I think we're going to come away with a draw. That was where my feelings were. But
I think compared to previous games, like, and I'm conscious not to contradict myself. Like, as much as I said it was, you know, 2 virgins dry humping or mostly fat and no jobby, I think what was pleasing was that we were, relatively speaking, still in the game in the second half. Like, we didn't do what we have done of late, which was invite pressure on ourselves within the last sort of 10-15, or at least that wasn't my impression at the game at the time.
Yeah.
And it did seem, like you say, like it was just going to sort of like peter out and result in a 0-0. And actually, like, I got chatting to a boy briefly in the toilet before the game, and he asked me what the score was, and I was conscious in case he'd been watching the podcast. He never let on, or that he watched or listened to the podcast, but I was conscious to make sure and say, right, it's going to be 2-0. Like, who did I say to Colin was going to be my scorers, because I need to be consistent here? And he's like, like, it'll probably be 0-0, 1-1. And I was like, well, actually, like, because of the conditions, like the rain, the wind, all that sort of stuff, like, any time I've seen these games recently, that tends to be the scoreline.
Yeah. Aye, unfortunately. I just remembered another chance. I think it was a nice bit of play, and it come back to Venti, and Clark also made a save from Benty there. I don't think Benty quite caught it right. It looked like it was maybe bobbling in front of him or something. He never quite. But Clark made the big, sort of dramatic looking save, but I don't think there was that much power in the effort. Do you remember that one? It would be the year end.
I've maybe erased it from memory.
Aye.
It doesn't stick out. Like there was a chance later on where I want to say it was Tavares. It was after Doidge had come on. Doidge, I thought, had a really good positive performance in his limited time on the pitch, and he was kind of instrumental in a few late chances for us. He's kind of taken the ball out wide. I think he's played in Tavares at one point. He's trying to return the ball for the header, and it's just been a little bit too high.
Aye, that's right. That was a good bit of play actually for Doidge there. What do you think? Before we get to the Hearts goal, so the substitutions, would you have made subs any earlier than we did, or different ones, or anything like that?
I was looking at the clock because we got beyond the 70 minutes, and I thought, well, the subs are going to have, like, obviously there was the one with Campbell, and hope he's back on his feet soon. That was an enforced change, and I was wondering what you do as the manager because, like I say, like I think we were still in the game, like, and it looked like, because you're still in it 0-0, you're thinking, well, we can maybe get the goal, maybe we go on and win the game. Like, do you disrupt that sort of like momentum, if you want to call it that, or like because I think at the stage of the game that I'm starting to think about the substitutions, like in the 70th minute and beyond, I'm thinking, right, do you stick with that team until the end, or are you looking to make a change to try and win it? And we've talked before about like the possible options off the bench that you might make as a positive introduction to go and try and win the game. And I think the roll of the dice at that point was maybe Doidge. I'd suggested putting Doidge up front, putting Boyle at right midfield, but this was before the Campbell injury. Because I often ask this question at half time, like, what would you do to try and change it when it's kind of like a bit of a stalemate, as I think just last night's game was. And I think with Campbell being injured early, and who was it came on? Was it Jago came on for him?
Yuan.
Oh, Yuan. Sorry. So actually, now that I think back, like Yuan was a pretty positive contribution as well. But he did that Yuan thing where there was a lot of positive stuff there, but it was also like quite frustrating at times as well, because he's beaten the guy twice over at the touchline, like almost like instantly after coming on, and then he's run into like a third challenge, and you're looking for a simple pass at that point.
It's that next bit, eh? It's like he's got so much in the locker, eh? Because there was another one up at your end as well on the edge of the box, and Boyle was in acres of space, and you just roll it out to him, and he went back the other way, and that's where all the bodies are, you know. And it's like, and I can see it from where I'm sitting. I know it's not as easy when you're on the pitch in the middle of it all, but you're like, that's what he's paid for.
Yeah.
But he's like got so much good stuff that he just add that bit on. But then that's why he's on the bench, because he's not doing it, you know. So he came on, and then Levitt came off for Jago, I think and then Doidge came on too for Venti. So I think that was your subs. I don't know if I've missed one there, John, or not, but I was a wee bit surprised that Jago coming on, like, what, 6 minutes to go, and I thought, what are we doing? Like, we're trying to win the game, or are we just now holding on? But it didn't feel like we were holding on at the time. I felt like, as I said already, I felt like we were going to be the team that went on to win, if anybody. And then bringing a defensive midfielder on and I don't know, Levitt's getting a bit of criticism. I thought he was okay last night. I think he was that bad at all, actually. I quite liked him.
I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's funny, like, as we talk about the game, like, more and more started to come back to me. I don't remember anything particularly good or bad about Levitt. Like, I think he just had a normal game.
And the boy got away from him, and he just fucking swiped him.
Oh,
he didn't even look at the ball. I thought, I applauded that. I thought, fucking love it.
We were having a laugh at the game about that, because it's almost as if in a split second Levitt's decided, I've not got the legs to catch him. I'm just, boom, off you go.
Didn't even look at the ball, just turned and smashed him. I thought, good. Like, how many times that happened to us? It's just a yellow card. Everybody knows it's a yellow card. Just tripped them up.
Yeah.
Superb. I applauded it at the time, and I have no apologies for doing so. And then I suppose, so we've made all these subs. As you say, that was a good bit of play from Doidge, the Tavares one. I thought Doidge could have maybe got in the end there. I'm not sure. It was too far away for me to tell, but I thought it was a good bit of play. And then it looked like the game just, you know what? I didn't think it was just going out for a 0-0. I still thought we were going to get an injury time goal. I don't know what was making me believe it last night, and I don't know if that's why I felt so shit after it. But then they just kind of nudged it up the park, and I'm not sure what Rocky done to lose it to Shankland like he did.
I think how you're describing like the game sort of like panning out, and it's such a weird thing about, and we had a conversation about this about like stats and OBV and all that sort of shit, XG and that sort of stuff. And my thoughts of the game, like I described before, it was just sort of like it was like there wasn't much in it. There wasn't any of the two teams on top. But my general feeling was like we're in this. Like I feel pretty confident that we've got like a reasonably positive display here, and we've got a chance of going on and getting a goal. I certainly didn't think that we were at risk of losing a goal. I didn't think that we were at risk of Hearts. Sorry, I didn't think we were at risk of losing a goal because Hearts looked significantly better than us.
Uh-huh.
And when you look back at the stats, you go, all right, so we had 16 shots to their 10. We both had 3 shots on target. Possession was 48-52. Passes 300 to 376. Like it was pretty even across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have anything to back up what I'm saying about us being a bit better in the second half, or me believing that we were going to get a goal. And it doesn't prove or disprove that Hearts were better, or were looking like they were going to score. It just like I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be 0-0, albeit I thought that we were in with a chance of getting a goal.
Yeah. So my opinion's pretty much on that. If anything, we were slightly a better team, maybe more threatening, as we should be as the home team. They played more football than they would normally play in a derby. I'm not going to give them any credit, so I'm going to stop there. But you can't give Shanklin 3 chances. Missed penalty, the Marshall save, and then we gift them a 1-on-1 with Marshall at the end. But you want to talk us through the goal, or do you just want to skip by and say the cunt scored and that's that?
Well, I think when I interrupted before, you were just getting into like what was it that Shanklin was doing? Bashiri.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't realise exactly what had happened at the time, because it's one of those things where it's at one end of the pitch, it's suddenly at the other. There's been a mistake, and then you see the ball nestling in the top corner. You think, oh, for fuck's sake! 92nd minute, typical Hibs. Here we go again, like scratch them off your bingo card.
Yeah.
And then you watch it back.
Shanklin written all over it. Yeah.
And then you watch it back and you see that Bashiri's gone for a header, and you can get into like the sort of finer details as to whether the header was on, whether Shanklin's kind of like jostling him or any of that sort of stuff. But I think the fact remains there was an attempt to make contact with his head and he hasn't made it. And it's that mistake that can change the game. And it's that little bit of a gamble for Shanklin. And then you've got he's got Fish to beat for there, and I think Fish has made it easy for him. And Shanklin's just opened up his body and tucked it in the top corner, and it was a great goal. And I think one of the things I was going to get at when we talked about this in the podcast was, while it was at 0-0, I thought, and this was when I was at the game, and I thought that the difference might be that bit of quality.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a mistake, and they had that bit of quality. I think it could have quite as easily been the other way around because of the way that the game was panning out. It just so happened that we've made the mistake and they've been able to capitalise on it. But I was saying to you before we started recording that, like, the difference in the game, that one goal was Shanklin, and he scored at least once out of 6 of their last 8 games. That's their star striker. That's the one that they paid a bit of money from, that they're playing up front in a sort of natural position.
Yeah. And we spoke about it on the preview show, John, didn't we? About their results recently have been a lot of 1-0, 2-1s, and Shanklin getting one or both of the goals. And, we're hoping it was going to be the lower averages wouldn't happen, but it's happened again, You can't give them 3 chances like that.
And comparatively, our star striker, the one that we spent a bit of money on, is the one that's not really playing up front. He's dropping deep, trying to bring others into the game, and he scored, I think, one during that time, the one against Aberdeen that broke the duck. So
that's a good wee segue then, on it, because I spent nearly half an hour on just us chatting, right? We've got hundreds of talking points. So the first one I wanted to cover was on that, right? So Dave F from Hibs.net posted on Hibs.net asking about. He asked, help me out, he says, what's the 2 up top in our famed 4-4-2? Boyle and who? Because I'm fucked if I know what's going on. So what's your thoughts on that?
It's a bit of a head scratcher, because when I think of it being a 4-4-2, I think of it being Benty up front with someone supporting. And I think there's been a variety of players that have supported. You've had Boyle, and I think it started at the Celtic game at Easter Road, where Tavares was brought in, Boyle was played up front, and I was all right with it. And I talked about it on the podcast where I said that it was to try and push their centre backs back using Boyle's pace, create them a bit of problems, and try and relieve the pressure that was on us. And it worked out right because I think the game finished 0-0, if I remember right. But since then, it seems to have, like, whatever it was that we changed and the reasons that we changed it for that game, assuming I'm right, it's been to our detriment ever since. And I don't know whether it's because of the insistence of playing Boyle up front and trying to use his pace. Like, I really do like Boyle as a player. However, I think that he's at his best when he's right midfield.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Theo Walcott at Arsenal. Like, he had so much pace, like it just seemed natural that he would be out wide. But his thing at Arsenal, and I think when he was at Southampton before that as well, was that he wanted to be a striker. But it changes the dynamic of the team, trying to accommodate that. And I wonder whether it's a thing about, like, because Martin Boyle, because he's Australian international, because he's well liked by the Hibs support, because he's, been a big money signing, bringing him back for Saudi Arabia, if I'm right, that it's almost like he's undroppable. Because comparatively, you've got Tavares that's kind of like right midfield, albeit he wasn't playing there last night. So is Martin Boyle the problem?
Well, Lee Martin did say that is our precious Martin Boyle actually a bit shite now. Feels offsided diving more than he's scoring. I mean, that dive was embarrassing, the dive. I don't know what it's like for you. We're at the other end of the ground and everybody around us went, fucking hell, that's embarrassing. Nobody was claiming for anything.
Stinking. Aye, and sadly, it's not the first time that he's done it. Like, we've talked about it before, like there's other times where he's been clever in winning a foul. So the one at Hampden when we beat Rangers, was it 3-0, 3-1? But he scored his hat-trick. I think it was the second one that was the penalty where he's got himself between the ball and the opposition player and they've cleaned them out. And he's won a penalty. He's been fouled, but he's won the foul. And last night, he's just sort of crumpled.
Yeah.
And Beaton's been wise to it.
Yeah, I think Beaton was had the card out before Boyle had fell. Like, everybody saw it coming. It would be a bit embarrassing, but better get through some of these, John, or I'll get my ass kicked off the bus. English teacher, are Hibs supporters the most impatient and deluded support in football? I don't know if that's a Hibs fan that's asking that or not. I'd say impatient we might be in there. I'm pretty sure we're not deluded though. I don't know. What your thoughts are on that?
Nah, I don't think we're deluded. I think one of the things that's perhaps unhelpful, and I hope we've never kind of put ourselves in either camp and we've just poked fun at it, but the whole accepting mediocrity, bedwetters, happy clappers, all that sort of stuff, like, I don't think it's helpful, because I don't think when Hibs are getting beat that anyone's happy.
It's not exactly. You know what? You're spot on with all those things, but then we also have the one where we've got a couple of players, or Hanlon Stevenson were playing last night, so folk are fighting over another individual who they can blame. So there's a guy near me heckled Tavares the whole game. Everybody around was going, who's this fucking idiot? And in the end, the boy just turned around and smashed him on the bus. At 0-0. It wasn't even after a goal. But then you've got folk on Rocky's case. I've always said he was shite, or people were out on Twitter last night hammering Joe Newell, because he wasn't very good when he first signed. So they're still holding that against him. It's like, this is mad. We need individuals to blame him. We've got Hanlon and Stevenson now, so we're just firing. It's like, but you can, and like, we've criticised individuals, but I try and know and pick an individual and just stick to that argument. I try and watch what's happened. And like, so last night I thought Boyle was rubbish and I thought Miller was rubbish, right? But I didn't think they're rubbish every week, so I'm not going to sit here next week and go, like, I said Miller was crap last week, so I'm sticking by that opinion. And that's, I think it then creates divides in the support, and then folk are then going out and looking for arguments about why Tavares is shite, or why Rocky's never going to make it, I think, all that. And it's like, can we just like support and criticise the team as a whole rather than trying to single out people all the time?
I think in support of the boy that's punched the Tavares critic, I thought Tavares was good last night, and I think actually, I think one of the criticisms that there's been about him is that, well, I think you've gone through like the bingo card of criticisms. He's never a footballer. He's no this. He's no that.
I've always said it.
Like, he's been looking okay. like I know that we didn't want to over egg it and say that he's like with the redemption arc and all that sort of stuff. Like he's from where he was cast adrift to where he is now. Like you can see that like he's definitely a football player, and I think you saw last night what he offers defensively that the other two don't. Yuan and Boyle.
That's what I was going to say, because Yuan and Boyle. I'm saying that I've just said about Boyle, but Yuan and Boyle should be better players in the wide positions than Tavares, and Tavares is maybe an option off the bench, but they tend not to cover as much. But then that comes back to saying, well, do we need an extra body in the midfield and play Benny up front as Todd and all that formation chat? Anyway, right, boring stuff. So Crawford Bridge, a couple of posts here. Time to dismantle this team over the next 2 windows. We need 2 centre-halves, 2 strong athletic midfielders and a partner for Vente. We'd love to see Big Nico back up top with him. Play 2 proper strikers and not this shite with one dropping into midfield. Also, I don't see the point of playing fullbacks high and wide as well as playing 2 wingers, just doesn't work. Play 3 proper midfielders with a number 10 backing up the 2 strikers. The fullbacks can then play the wide positions. I think he's in one post he's sort of suggested 4-4-2, and the other one he's saying an extra midfielder to support a striker. But effectively, rip the team up. 2 centre-halves, 2 midfielders, and a new striker. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I was having a think about this earlier when I was out with the Doug, because I knew that one of the questions that would get put to us, or one of the criticisms that you've seen, is around the big clear out, scratch the other one off the bingo card.
Overall.
And I think it was easier in the past because like you didn't have transfer windows, and we've talked about the start of the business, the summer transfer window and the challenges of the winter transfer window. Like I don't think you have that option of just like clearing players out, and you can't change them as readily as you would like. So you're kind of like, for 6-month periods, you're stuck with for the fans that don't like, say, Bashiri or Newell or whoever it happens to be. They're stuck with them for at least another 6 months. And if the manager likes them, if that's who he sees like fit into that system or however it is that he wants to play, if they are the strongest available, then they're going to play.
Yeah.
However, I do agree with the point that the point wasn't that we need a managerial change or we need a squad change. I'd rather see the manager given the opportunity to fine-tune a squad.
Mate,
because we've been this too many times.
Agreed. You're coming to the next one, right? Which is Hibs on tour. Montgomery's boring football philosophy. Won't last 5 minutes at Hibs. So that does cover that. Is Benny Brazil, is Monty deserving of a transfer window, or are we delaying the inevitable? Did Jair win a competition to be part of your squad, or Make-A-Wish Foundation treat? Will common sense ever prevail in the Hibs boardroom, or will we sign an established, experienced manager? The manager wants to play in a certain way. This is Chris. The manager wants to play in a certain way. Some players aren't good enough to play that style of football. Melker's money needs reinvested, plus an extra injection of cash. We need quality over quantity, and we need to get behind the manager, just on the other side, to back up maybe who you were going with.
Yeah, so it was just like I said in the last couple of weeks that I think that there's players, perhaps like fan favourites, that could see themselves having to be moved on because they don't fit. So like energy in the midfield, I think we definitely need that, because currently Newell and Levitt, as much as I like them both as footballers, I don't know that they are a good partnership for one another, and I don't think that offers enough support to the strikers.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's where an
something
extra midfielder to me would, and I don't want to get an information chat, but another midfielder in there, like one, maybe a box-to-box midfielder or something.
Yeah. But do you mean like
Guinness, is he still kicking about?
Still kicking about? I don't know. Kicking about? Can you describe an injury-prone player as kicking about?
Such a shame.
Probably not.
Such a shame for him. Anyway, let's get through these. The Droog. Why is Rocky part of our attacking set pieces? Don't know. Yuan still won't pass the ball until he's done a move on someone. Highly frustrating. We spoke about the Yuan thing. But Rocky attacking set pieces. What's that like coming up for a cross? Do you think?
I assume so. I think that's probably just because your tallest players generally in Scotland are your centre backs or your strikers. So they're the ones that you'll want in the box for free kicks, corners, etc. And that's like, despite my height, I was never any good in the air. but I would still be sent up for corners and free kicks.
just to make a nuisance of
just because I'm a big guy.
Aye. So Rafa, he doesn't get the hate for Rocky. He mistimed his header after Shankland nudged him in the air, but he covered in behind Fish a number of times. Not saying that it isn't better out there, but all those shouting that Hanlon should be playing were probably the ones saying he was finished.
I think I was having this conversation with a guy on the bus on the way up to the postponed game against Ross County. I think when players make mistakes, it's really, really easy to highlight them. However, we often overlook the positive contributions that they make. And I wonder if you were being really objective, if you looked at Bashiri and said, you've made more positive contributions to a game than had mistakes that cost Hibs goals.
Aye. I know, I actually thought it was okay last night apart from the goal, but then he did give a penalty away as well, so then, maybe not. But it was okay.
And I suppose if you're being objective as well, so as much as I think he's an okay defender, there are parts of his game that he definitely needs to improve on. So I think he can be a little bit clumsy. So if you look at the penalty in the first half, and then some of the headers that he goes for, it's not the first time that he's made that mistake.
Yeah.
And at some point you have to go, that's not improving. He's still I hope I'm not being too harsh here, but he's still a professional footballer. He plays with a football pretty much most of his working week. You would think that something, because I don't remember it being especially windy last night. It didn't feel like that at the ground, and I know that we're kind of sheltered a wee bit because the stands are a bit bigger compared to say St Johnstone or whatever. But I don't think that there's even much an excuse there that he's lost the flight of the ball because there's been a sudden gust of wind, because I don't remember that.
Gus Polinski, I've never been so bored at an Edinburgh derby. Montgomery's style of play is as boring in the flesh as it is when I'm watching on Hibs TV. Atmosphere was poor, and there's a definite correlation between that and the product on the pitch. Block 7 Banners, he asks, they have a point. Block 7 were there last night, so they could have contributed to the atmosphere, I would say. I think the banner was asking for freedom for ultras or something. I'm not sure what they mean.
Oh, it's because they got they were due to do a display, but Hibs had said no. And I don't know the details for that, perhaps.
I know that reason. So one was plastic with the Greens Club, 2 it was paper, they said you'll torch it, health and safety with your pyros, and 3 it'll make a mess. So I think that was Hibs' reasons for saying no.
Did IFAB have anything to say about that?
SFA probably will blame somebody else. Neil Shanks, why has the defence been so poor for years and nothing done about it? Lack of a leader on the park since Rob Jones left is frightening. Again, why has this not been addressed? Scouting is shocking. There's just another wee one. Neil, no offence, but it's just another wee one for the bingo card, like a leader on the pitch. Paul 1875, is Rocky Bashiri actually a football player? And Ryan's asking if we can cover at centre half till we buy 3. All in the same line. It's funny because it was a 0-0 all the way, that game, and we're now saying fucking overhaul the defence. We've not got a leader in defence. We need 3 centre halves.
There's maybe is there an argument there that the defence is in need of an overhaul? And I'm thinking, so you mentioned Hanlon and Stevenson never played last night, so you don't have you can't point the finger at them. And we've got Bashiri and we've got Fish. Fish is on loan, if I remember rightly. I think there's a wee bit of chat, a wee bit concerned perhaps that he was going to go back to Man United. I don't think that's a particular concern. If he goes back to Man United, it'll be to get loaned out or sold elsewhere. We've got Bashiri in there, but when we think back to Pochis, Hanlon, McGregor, etc., have we ever really got the centre halves that we need? And we've got Hardbottle there, but Hardbottle's development squad, I think he was maybe on the bench last night, but we've not really seen much of him since the Blackpool friendly. So I agree, the defence needs work, and as much as Miller seemed to have come on to the game, he's definitely had a wee dip recently. I don't know whether it was the illness or the international call-ups maybe got to his head or whatever.
Yeah, possibly, because at times yesterday he looked a bit slow, and I thought, is he carrying an injury? There's a couple of times I just thought, run faster. I've seen you run faster than that. Conscious of time here, sound like I'm at work. doing a wee meal or meeting there. So Raymond Gray, a couple of points. Monty's still trying to sew silk from a pig's ear with the team he inherited. Every derby, in his opinion, bar one or two in recent times, and certainly since Lennon, we've been second best. A lot of talk and little action. Last night, I don't think we won 50-50, second ball 0. I'll take issue with that, I think. But Hearts, far more comfortable on the ball, and we were deliberate and panicked at best. All that said, as bad as we were, didn't look like anything other than a draw was the outcome. Certainly the case unless you have a defence that will always offer up one bomb scare per game. I don't think we never won a 50-50, and I do think, because I've seen Neil put a couple of challenges and Levitt certainly won a couple of tackles. So there was that. I think it's just that, like the anger after a game and all that. And we've definitely put up a fight in recent times as well. Although our record is fucking shite. Like, I don't know how we've done podcasts on that, we've done extra times on it, on how we actually turn that round, and I've no idea. I've no idea how we get it changed. As on the point there, a lot of talk and a lot of action. I'm sick of hearing going into derbies, especially home derbies, about, I want to hear, I want to sample Sunshine and Leith at the end. Like, we'll just win the fucking game, and then that's what will happen. Let's stop talking about and thinking about that. Think about the game rather than the fucking song.
How would you feel? How would you feel for like a media player interview perspective if the player was to just come out and go, "I just want to win the game. Like, that's it. That's all they said. That was it. Interview over."
Fine. I'm totally fine with that. I didn't get hung up on the interview, so I didn't listen to I've not listened to Montgomery's interview after the game because we've spoken about it before. I think his interviews are pretty dull. He seems a nice guy. I've spoken to him in person, and he seems a nice guy. His interviews are fucking deadly boring. Probably deliberately so. Look what we do. We ridicule managers when they come out and say anything that isn't boring anyway. So I'd rather we weren't ridiculing our own manager. So let's just let him be boring and repeat the question back in different words, like what he does. Winston Ingram says, shite tactics, his refusal to play another way was his talking point. Stephen Lumsden, close game settled by the best forward in Scottish football at the moment, was always going to be settled like that either way. Bafflingly. That's the word I was missing there.
Well done.
Slack passing at times. I should have just missed it the first
The
time.
slack passing was a massive frustration for me, and I wondered what our thinking was behind it. Were we deliberately trying to play like not a wonder ball, but like a sort of high percentage ball? Because it seemed to me like we were trying to play it close enough to the Hearts player that they had to like commit or get fucked by it. But actually, the opposite was that they were able to sort of like step into it and collect the ball and start their own attack. That seemed to be a frequent occurrence.
We were doing it with them as well. It's obviously the style, because their style of play isn't dissimilar. I don't think.
It might be that I've picked up on that, and it was frustrating for me because of the green tinted specs. I don't remember it too much for our perspective. Like, it seemed like a real positive for them, like negative for us.
Aye.
And it would have been like if it happened as you described, then it would have been exactly the same for them. They would have been like, there would have been the equivalent of me, Turvey fucking Naismith in the Hearts end thinking that's shite.
Back to Stephen Lumsden's last point there, he said they'll lose their best player, we'll strengthen. Well, fingers crossed. Mikey says we can't pass the ball, our star striker doesn't score goals, and the atmosphere was pretty poor. Alan Neil Duncan blaming the defence of Bashiri specifically when our forwards are the real problem. Venty and Boyle have been awful for weeks, and we have only had 5 shots on target in 3 games, which is fucking dreadful, really. Defenders will make mistakes, we will lose goals. Our front line not scoring has to take responsibility and some blame. I think we spoke about that recently, about the number of shots and how from where we went when we came in September to where we are now, it's like, I don't know what's changed. Same formation, same players, lack of threat, Venty playing effectively midfield.
When I was at the pub last week, it was suggested that because we weren't getting the defensive work out of Boyle and Yuan, they're starting to play narrower. And I think, and I wonder if we could look back and see if anyone who has more insight into this sort of thing than me, can they say to me that it was happening before that Celtic game when Boyle got pushed up front and Tavares went out on the right, or has it been more of a sort of like gradual thing since then? In fact, I might even go back on Wikipedia and look up the number of shots and things myself, because it definitely has tailed off.
Definitely. Ross McCage's probably tying into that. Why it was really boring to watch. Patrick McManus, who in the side, wants to take the game by the scruff of the neck and show responsibility. Thought a few past the buck, got into good positions rather than going for it themselves. Misplaced pass every time, maybe a bit more belief in themselves required. Graham Whiteman, the manager, needs to raise the bar. His acceptance of a tepid performance is not going to improve the club. Alex W., when was the last time we scored a penalty in a derby? Fuck knows. Here's another point from the Half Monty. Those crying out to stop playing from the back, what's the alternative? So is it hoofball and hope for 50-50s?
Well, the irony is, of course, that's exactly how Hearts won the game.
Yeah.
So maybe there's an argument for it, but I guess
Hearts won the hoofball last night.
No.
But the goal was created by just a knock up the park, wasn't it? And
Yep.
hope somebody makes a mistake. Dave Graham, has our risk-free reward changed our season? Risk-free reward change ruined our season, sorry. Will Boyle and Yuan ever be effective in a Montgomery system? I think that's
So
where
it was-
going to look at these stats, weren't you?
Yeah, so it was Dave that had said when we were in the pub that the wingers have become narrower because of the lack of defensive work, and I want to be reminded of the conversation that we had about it earlier in the year, because I think what we'd said was that we created a lot of chances, but we also conceded a lot of chances, albeit it was kind of like shots of distance. In fact, I think it was when we talked about it at the Dundee game when we had the man sent off. There was a lot of chances for Dundee. I think they scored one through Beck, but I don't remember us being particularly challenged otherwise.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, were we critical of it at the time? Was it? I don't think it was. I don't think it's been like a fan-led pressure thing that's caused Montgomery to change. I think he's looked at what's happening with the squad and went, actually, we are conceding far too many chances. We need to do something differently.
Well, that's a good shout, actually, because we were moaning about that. We're scoring all these goals, but look, we're letting them in. The amount of 2-2s we had. And we went almost at the extreme. So let's get to John. Really pressed our time here. And there's still a few to go through, so let me rattle through a few more. Right? Ryan Lyle, our record in the derby is abysmal. Yep. Lacking something at the moment, not creating enough clear chances. Couple of breaks last night. Support is slow in coming. If the chances aren't there to kill off games, the inevitable happens, and we can see that at the other end. Story of the season. I think that sums it up for me. Alan Woodhouse, why did we seem to be playing for a draw at home? What's going on with our passing? If Tavares is our first choice wide player, why can't he cross the ball? And why won't Monty tell the truth? That was brutal. Parmaham 2, the demise of attacking football at Easter Road. We look totally inept all over the park at the moment. And here's the Half Monty, who won our prize actually for tickets last week. So he's asking, is it acceptable for a fan of your own club to cheer when one of your own players gets injured? I thought we played all right, getting crosses in the box, Jair taking players on. As I said, no Nisbet-esque striker, Venti needs help, squad needs upgrading, no depth. I'm not sure who the fuck cheered when Campbell went off, but that's pretty poor to hear. Although, as I said, there was somebody just heckled Tavares the whole game, so Campbell's got these guys that people will never accept either, so he's probably fallen in that category. David Dryborough, how does Monty get the balance right in the squad? We've went from an open team creating lots of chances, but giving up a lot to a team that's not giving up many chances but creating nothing. That's exactly the point, and it's kind of coming through, and it's came through our conversation, and I can see it in the points. So it'd be interesting to see when that changed, John. It could be the Celtic 0-0 game, where we went and never let any in, but it'd be interesting for you to go and do that bit of analysis that you promised us.
Great. Can't wait.
You got a bit of delegation there. Stuart says the passing was awful last night. The amount of times we got in decent positions and then the final ball went astray. Angry face there. Yep. Venti's plenty. I'd like to see Yuan played up front with Venti. 2, we've got Boyle, Venti, Yuan, Deutsch, Lafondre, who's a big miss, isn't he? McCurdy, Jair. Why does it look like we need another attacker? So true. Like that's 6 or 7 he's rattled off there. 3, Boyle more at fault than Rocky for me last night. Get him off penalties and back on the right. 4, totally uninspired again. Anything to add to any of that?
No.
Paraphrase image then, this is one of the last ones. I've got another one as well. So let's see. Probably the worst derby since the December 2012 Cup game. Little quality from either side, but so many Hibs players off it. Venty needs a partner. Boyle isn't the answer. Both penalties were poor, but if it's a yard inside the post, it's going to be saved. High to either side scores. And then he sent us a wee image there where penalties are most saved, which is I've never seen before, but it's boxed in eight squares, and it shows you where you're most likely to score. Let's see if any new ones have came in when we've been talking. That's just all Matthew posting shite. Right, Neil Renton, he's got a couple of points here. So, is HTC a problem? Right, there's one for your bingo card, John. But I get Neil's point here. In a way, the players are only at Easter Road on match days. Other clubs have sessions at their own ground. Is it something we should do? Maybe even get the players more involved in the community stuff to be more part of the club, like that. So I think what he's saying here, are they detached from the club? My initial, when I read that earlier, my initial point, my thought was, Man United didn't go to Old Trafford other than match days. Their home base is Carrington, I think it's called, the Man United training ground. Same with Chelsea, same with Liverpool. They don't train at their ground; they just turn up there on match day. But do you think there's validity in the players being at Easter Road more often and doing stuff around the club?
The cynic in me is just that is immediately thinking about this. Like, is that if Hibs were to train, say, one day a week, say it was the Friday before the game, for example, on the pitch, it makes me wonder if there would be folk gunning for the fact, well, if you're going to be playing at Easter Road, why the fuck have you got a training centre there?
That would be the other side, wouldn't it?
I think the other thing is, I don't know how it would have, how the pitch would be impacted now. I think the reason that we got that, am I right in saying that we've got this synthetic hybrid pitch thing going on now? So it's like part grass, part synthetic. And I think the reason that we got that because it was suggested in the last couple of years that Hibs have the Easter Road pitch really struggles during the winter months because of the lack of direct sunlight over it. So previously, if we, I presume that we haven't trained on the pitch before the game because you want to try and maintain the surface and try and give it as much time to repair as possible.
Yeah.
Would that have the same impact now? I'm not against what Neil's suggesting. Could you make it like a sort of open training session, get fans along? Because you did that. You did that, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of times I've been in. It's
and part of the community stuff. I mean, you had the community foundation dinner the other day there, and there was players involved in that. So
yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't honestly say how much of a difference it would make, and I don't know how much of a difference it would make to the success of a game.
Yeah, it'd maybe give them more attachment to the club, but I don't get what training at Easter Road. I don't think it would. I kind of get the thinking, and it would feel more at home, and it'd be more an advantage. But I don't think so. I think you've got your training base. You pay a lot of money for it, and that's what you use. Hearts didn't train at Tynecastle. They won.
Yeah.
They won last night. Right. Next point. We've got a lot of young players. You can see what the club are trying to do, but young players with intention of selling them for a profit. Surely there's a benefit to us having an experienced spine to the team, keeper, centre-half, centre-fielder, striker, players in their early 30s pretty much playing for their last decent club. That way the youngsters could learn from those. I think that you've got to get a balance, is my thought on that, young and old. But we've got Marshall in goals. Benny up front isn't young. Newell in midfield isn't young.
Newell's 30, I think, 30, 31.
So actually, and if Hanlon plays, which he didn't, then you've got an experienced spine, and it's not making any fucking difference. I
think whenever we talk about spines in a team, it's usually because we've just been beat or it's after a run of defeats. Yeah. And what normally accompanies that critique is shouts for the manager to go. So anytime the manager goes, it's new plans, new personnel, all that sort of stuff. So you never really get to build the spine that you're talking about. So if we're serious about it, you need to stick with a manager. You need to, and to go back to the point I was trying to make earlier, it might be 2 transfer windows, it might be 4. I know that that's not a luxury you're often afforded in football. I think the Pine Bovril account had posted stats for managers recently where I think the longest serving one was David Martindale in the Premiership. So you just didn't tend to get that time. So I do think that Montgomery I think there's players there that doesn't suit what he wants to do. I think it's quite obvious that he wants to stick to a certain system.
Yeah.
So get the players in to get the most out of the system rather than what we've got, which there's players that are going to have to move on.
Yeah.
And as I said before, with regards to transfer windows, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in the January transfer window. It's not going to happen in the summer transfer window. It'll just take time. As unpalatable as it is, it'll take time.
I think what I've been consistent is replacing the manager, and that's the common denominator. So I think maybe we need to try and give one time. I don't know whether it's the right
I think
one.
what's equally frustrating is the chat investment. It seems like, and I go back to like some of the early days of Longbangers when we talked about it, and it was always investing in infrastructure. It's almost like we're always investing for a future that never comes.
Yeah.
Like, can we not just be a wee bit sexy with fucking £6 million and put 2-3 players in there? That'll make a difference.
That's the point I was trying to make last week. I think Matthew was quite sold on the indoor pitch, and I kind of get it, but like I think that's a long term, short term. I can make the pitch better, make use on the pitch better.
Yeah.
John, I think that's about an hour. I think that's enough. Like, I don't know if you feel any better for it. I don't know if I was fucking raging last night on the way home. Car journey was very quiet on the way home. This has hopefully helped get off my chest a wee bit. Thanks for listening. Thanks if you managed to fucking sit through all of that, all those bad memories that I'm sure others have tried to block out like John had, and I have. And we've probably missed things because we're trying to black it out. One thing before we go, actually, I should just say thanks again to Leith Spirits, but I should also thank the Foundation and Dave Thompson for the donation of some tickets to the Motherwell game. So we've got a competition on Twitter at the moment for tickets to Motherwell, and I don't know if anybody can fucking force themselves through it again, but it is the last game before the winter break, so it's the last chance you've got to have to see Hibs before February or the end of January. So we do have a competition on Twitter. All you need to do is retweet, I think I called it, retweet the competition, the tweet that we put out, and tag who you would like to take to the game with you, and we will pick I think it's 6 pairs of tickets we have, 6 at random from those that have done that. We've already got a fair few in, but if you want to join the pot, we'll do that, and we will probably make the draw on Hibs. I'm just making that up right now. Not cleared that way everybody. I'm just making that decision right now because I didn't put it on the tweet. So have a look for the competition out there. I'll put a reminder out later on, maybe tomorrow. Give everybody another few hours to cool down after last night, and we will see you there because I'll probably have to hand you the tickets. So I'll probably have to meet you somewhere to hand you them out. So thanks for listening, and we will be back after the Motherwell game, I guess. Cheers.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.